Way back in 1947, something crashed in the New Mexico desert. And that crash sparked a story that would become, without a doubt, the most famous UFO case in history. Today, we're diving deep into the Roswell incident to ask, what really happened out there? This is the big one, isn't it? The central question. Was it just a simple weather balloon, like they said, a top-secret military project? Or, as so many people still believe, was it something not from this world? You know, the whole thing starts pretty quietly. Just a rancher finding some really weird debris scattered across a remote pasture. But that quiet little discovery, it was about to make a noise heard round the world. And things moved fast. I mean, look at this timeline. In just 4 days, a local curiosity in the middle of nowhere completely exploded into an international incident. Let's break down exactly how it all went down. This quote right here from Major Jesse Marcel, he was the first military officer on the scene. This is one of the biggest reasons the story just grabbed hold of people. He described this material that seemed, well, impossible, like nothing he had ever seen on this earth. And then came the absolute bombshell. On July 8th, the military itself, the U.S. military, put out a press release that basically confirmed the wildest rumors. They said they had recovered a flying disc. The press and pretty much the entire world went absolutely nuts. So you'd think that's the story of the century, right? Well, just as quickly as the story broke, it was shut down. The military's incredible admission was about to get walked back in one of the most famous flip-flops in modern history. Less than 24 hours. That's it. That's how long the world officially had a captured flying saucer. In a single day, the official story went from a discovery that could change humanity forever to, just a simple mistake. And here you can see the whiplash. The story goes from a flying disc to a weather balloon. They even had Major Marcel pose for photos with the new, very normal-looking debris, a far cry from the unearthly material he described at first. And this right here is the question that has haunted this story for decades. If it was just a weather balloon, why the sudden, intense secrecy? Why the cover-up? For a lot of people, the cover-up itself became the real story. After that, the Roswell story just faded away. It became a piece of local folklore, mostly forgotten. But decades later, it was about to be reborn in a huge way. For 30 years, the incident of basically a ghost story. The world moved on, you know? We had the Cold War, the space race. Roswell was ancient history. Until the one guy at the very center of it all decided it was time to talk. In 1978, a now-retired Jesse Marcel gives this explosive interview. He says flat out that the weather balloon story was a lie, a cover story he was ordered to go along with. He stuck to his guns. The material he held in his hands was not from this world. And that one interview, it changed everything. Marcel's interview was like throwing gasoline on a fire that had been smoldering for decades. Suddenly, Roswell wasn't just a forgotten news story, it was a cultural phenomenon. It created the modern template for UFO mythology. You have the crash, the government cover-up, and a secret base like Area 51 where they're hiding all the evidence. So now the legend is back, and it's bigger than ever. The world was just primed for the ultimate proof, and in the mid-90s, it looked like it finally arrived, in the form of this grainy, totally shocking footage. I mean, this was a massive television event. People everywhere were glued to their screens. For believers, this alien autopsy film was the smoking gun. This was it, proof that the government didn't just recover a craft, they recovered its crew. But almost immediately, experts started picking it apart. The way the surgeons were holding their tools seemed wrong. The phone on the wall looked out of place for 1947. The debate raged for more than a decade until, finally, the man who made it came clean. Yep, it was all an incredibly elaborate hoax. The supposed top-secret military lab, a London apartment. And the aliens' internal organs? Well, they came from a local butcher shop. It was a brilliant piece of filmmaking, but it was total fiction. Okay, so the most famous piece of evidence is now debunked. So where does that leave the original story? Well, the U.S. government, feeling the heat, finally decided it was time to offer its own official explanation. So in the 90s, the Air Force comes out and says, okay, look, yes, we did cover something up, but it wasn't aliens. The strange debris they claimed was actually from something called Project Mogul, a top secret Cold War spy balloon designed to listen for Soviet nuclear tests. And the alien bodies? They said those were just misremembered sightings of crash test dummies from later projects. But there was a major flaw in that official story. The whole crash test dummy program, it didn't even start until years after 1947. That left a pretty big hole in the government's explanation, and for many, it just made them more suspicious.
But regardless of what really happened, Roswell's impact is just undeniable. It forever links UFOs with government conspiracies in our minds, it made Area 51 a household name, and it turned a small New Mexico town into a global tourist mecca. It literally defined how we talk and think about aliens to this very day.
Which really brings us to the final, biggest question of all. After all the official reports, the debunked hoaxes, the decades that have passed, why are we still talking about Roswell? Why does this one particular myth just refuse to die? I think it's because it's just a perfect story. It's got everything you could want: a deep mystery, a credible witness who says he was silenced, a shadowy government cover-up, and of course, that huge, tantalizing question: are we alone in the universe? In the end, the story of Roswell might be less about what came down from the sky and more about us, here on the ground. It reflects our fascination with the unknown, our deep distrust of authority, and maybe our fundamental hope that there's something more out there. It really makes you wonder, what secrets do we still want to believe are hiding just beyond our sight?